Wing women and wing men, hello, welcome. Thank you for tuning in. We've got an exciting panel put together today with some of PAX8's best partners and some of our best internal resources. Our conversation today is going to be around the secrets to moving fast and winning big with modern distribution. I am your host, Nick Heddy, Chief Revenue Officer at PAX8. And gentlemen, if you could please introduce yourselves.
Hey guys, my name is Kevin Gritsch, Director of Partner Solutions. I oversee a team at PAX8 that specializes in Microsoft as well as security and continuity solutions. And basically we help partners evaluate and implement products.
Hi, my name is Don Baham and President of Kraft Technology Group, and we operate out of Nashville, Tennessee. I'm glad to be here today.
Hey everyone, my name is Reese Ormand. I'm the CEO of TECHVERA. We're an MSP based out of Denton, Texas, a little north of the Dallas-Fort Worth area. I have about 20 team members here, and we are a cloud-centric, security-focused MSP. We work with a lot of law firms.
Thank you for agreeing to participate. And when you say 20 people here with you, do you mean in Singapore with you? I see that great Ferris wheel in the background.
No. Absolutely not. Mine are all U.S. based. In fact, we actually were at a head count, Nick, of 15 people prior to July, and we acquired a small outfit of 4 team members, about 20 clients that we brought into the fold here over the last quarter.
So let's get this kicked off, guys. According to ESG, more than half of the business in the U.S. are seeing an uptick in security breaches since we've moved into this whole work from home environment. What are your recommendations for protecting clients in today's climate?
So, yeah, we have seen some of the evidence that backs this stat up, and unfortunately, bad actors are not giving companies a break, even though we're going through a global pandemic and folks are working from home. What we have, our message continues to be primarily the same, in that companies that were suffering breaches before are probably going to be some of the similar ones experiencing them now if they are not practicing basic cyber hygiene. And some of that starts with security awareness training for employees. And I'm not talking about the once a year 45-minute training that has zero value, but actually making it practical for their employees. Especially right now as they're working from home, making the security awareness training practical to the new things that they're going to potentially see as they're working from home, and some of the different attack vectors that are happening and attack methods. In general, some companies, were really not prepared for this shift. They may have had network security controls that worked well when everyone was in the same building or multiple buildings. But as data moved outside of the building, maybe those security controls just didn't work as well. And so they're having to make a shift, or hopefully realizing they have to make a shift to put different controls in place to protect the data that now may be sitting in areas that they weren't expecting it to sit.
To your point there, Don, we're seeing, and I think the metric ID Agent was telling us on one of these webinars recently is like since March, it was like a 3,000% uptick in like phishing related emails due to COVID, right? And I think we all dealt with that through the last couple of months. But those malicious actors know, right? When we are in an environment of change, in any kind of emotional state, we're more susceptible to their tricks, right? And so they'll hit your employees and your staff with holiday, oriented like FedEx type phishing emails right around the holidays, thinking you're getting a package. You're doing that same sort of thing through COVID with company policies, with stimulus reimbursement money, all that kind of stuff, right? So we saw an uptake in attacks from that end, but then a lot of what we as MSPs are already advocating for, just more of that in terms of making sure you have MFA enabled across your entire, Microsoft environment, anywhere, frankly, that you can enable it. But then going a step further for our clients that had executives or sensitive data and they were working from home, if you're layering over conditional access over the top of that data, really going towards a zero trust type policy, right? Where we have a secure environment that we can get you in, but we have authentication and measures around that to verify who you are and what device you're coming from. And so I think it's really accelerated a lot of that. And we had some conversations with, I'm sure many MSPs did, with some clients that when they had to go work remote, was this the time to retire that file server, right? And go to Azure and SharePoint? Was this the time to roll out Teams? And so I think that you have to be versatile and really advocate on mobility, but with security with it, to drive home some of these changes that are cloud oriented, but drive the security notion home, right?
I think those are both great tips. And we did a Wingman Wednesday session with Paul Dipple. And to your point, Don, practicing good security hygiene, this isn't introducing new security risks. This is perhaps amplifying those risks that are existing. And so making sure you're checking all the boxes as you're looking to protect your customers and keep them secure as they move to work from home. That's great advice.
You know, Nick, one other thing we did through this whole period is we turned on our SOC and SIEM log monitoring for all of our tenants across all of our clients, right? So, you know, if I have a client that logs in, you know, from Florida at 3 p.m. and we get an impossible login alert, you know, from overseas, we know. And just having that data in real time, which was something we didn't have fully fleshed out across our entire client base pre-COVID, it gives us some little more visibility into real-time attacks and, you know, attempts that are happening. And again, able to show value when we go to a TBR and we're able to say, yeah, you didn't see this, but this is what happened. This is what we did to remediate. And this is why we do that MFA, right?
I mean, to Don's point, now is not the time to skimp on security awareness training. So obviously video education is important, but I'd highly recommend looking into really phishing simulation, mock phishing your employees to see how click happy they are when that email
to the point to where they need to schedule time with that end user, right? And there was an email correspondence back and forth. We saw a lot of tickets in that kind of still status, right? So we're looking to automate that workflow with some touches and some scheduling, you know, Calendly type stuff, just to say, nope, here's the time, let's go, and shorten that resolution time and be able to crunch more tickets, right?
In the halls of PAX 8, we call this revenue leakage, and that's what we are hyper focused on, is how do we help you through efficiencies capture all those nickels and pennies that are dropping through the cracks and make sure you're accounting for them all. Kevin, this next question's for you. Acronis recently released their new security component, Cyber Protect. Can you summarize how this complements the backup solution?
Really, Acronis has, you know, been around for a while and they're very flexible. I'd say that's one of their strengths. So whether you're a pretty small shop or a very mature one that's been around for a while, it can really fit a lot of those needs. So when we look at their backup components, you know, they can back up email, so Office 365 and G Suite. They can back up files and folders, whether that's on Windows or Mac OS. They can do really image-based backups, even for virtual machines. And you have the option to install an agent on each of those virtual machines, or you can install it at like at the host level as well, whether you're running like Hyper-V, for example. And the latest thing they've really added is a security component to this. And we can talk a little bit more about what those capabilities look like, but in the end, you're adding something that doesn't require an additional agent to be installed. So it really is consolidating a lot of this workload of needing to deploy new software. So really by leveraging this, you might very well already have their backup in place, and now it really is a flip of the switch to start managing anti-malware settings or even like a remote wipe capability. So I think with this comes a lot of efficiencies that MSPs can take advantage of.
Kevin, that's all great. What specific technologies does Cyber Protect provide?
Sure, so I mean, it's a lot, right? So they'll do vulnerability assessment. So you can identify and like quantify and even prioritize different vulnerabilities found in applications and your operating system. There's even some issues that you can command at that point to say whether it's automatic or manual to update these. They do provide what they call active protection, which is kind of what they do around ransomware and even crypto mining. So they'll monitor processes and use like heuristics to track these things. They'll even keep an eye on unauthorized access to backup software, which is common of ransomware to really attack. You can even manage Windows Defender from their Cyber Protect portal as well. I'd say one of the biggest things that they're providing is really patch management. So again, you can look through those applications, which ones are vulnerable, and really from that same portal, update those, make sure that you're protected from these latest things coming out. You can even really remote wipe devices. So if you have users that leave a laptop in an airport or in the back of an Uber or something like that, and you are concerned about data protection, you can remotely just wipe that, and you're out the hardware, but at least you haven't had any sort of data breach. You can even do URL filtering. So what this means is when your users are browsing the internet, you can stop them from accidentally visiting a malicious website. This is common in like phishing attacks. So if somebody is, let's say, fooled into clicking on that link, it can take them somewhere nasty on the internet, and you can stop that from taking place. Now, even on top of that, you can enforce an acceptable use policy. So you can say, I don't want my users to be able to visit social media or gambling websites because they're maybe inappropriate. So there are a lot of things that they've added to this backup software. And again, you don't have to deploy anything extra.
Well, that's a lot of added extra value. If you are already a partner or a customer on this product, make sure you're looking into this because it may already be there and you just have to turn that toggle switch on. We touched on this earlier, and it's a pretty obvious question, but why is integration and automation important to your MSP business? And how does Pax8 help?
Like I said, as you guys build your MSPs and you get more clients and more agreements and maybe nuance to each one of those different billing models and so forth, having that synchronization between your PSA and Pax8 is tremendously helpful in finding those dollars that slip through the cracks and quantifying those, kind of wonky prorations that may have been manual calculations in the past. And so as we've grown, this has become a very valuable piece of the equation when it comes to that monthly reconciliation of usage versus what we've got. It's all automated, right? So what was a very manual, human-based process is now completely automated and just allows us to, work on expanding the company and not chasing dollars and pennies on 365 mailboxes, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I would completely agree, Reese. One of the, and I touched on the value that Pax8 is providing in that area for us already. But one of the things when I think about integration with, for our business, one of the reasons that we clued into Acronis was their integration with ConnectWise Automate. So we wanted to give our techs the ability to pop into the Acronis portal directly from ConnectWise Automate, and that integration. When we look to bring on tools into the business, we'd much rather integrate with our existing framework of support versus requiring the techs to look somewhere else as they are supporting our clients. So that integration was big for us. It works well, and they can stay and automate and do quite a few other things while taking care of the backups and the alerting on those as well.
And I think just seeing where the Pax8, where y'all's panel is headed and some of the information we're able to pull, there's actionable data. There's sales information in there that I'm able to obtain, right, and move the needle when it comes to our client interactions. And that's another thing that we had no visibility into in the past.
Thanks for that, Reese. It sounds like Pax8 and Acronis together are delivering a lot of value, and that must make you feel good. And Reese, what song pops in your head when you think about how good Pax8 and Acronis makes you feel?
I don't know. I've got the power, right? That 90s song, I've got the power. Something like that. It does make you feel like you're equipped to scale quickly, right? And I think Don had mentioned this, and we may talk about it here later on, Nick, but when we look at vendors, when we look at solutions, whether or not they're on the Pax8 line card has a tremendous weight into our into that process, right? They're up against a wall and have to have an extremely strong value prop for us to even consider them if they're not inside y'all's ecosystem. So we know that you guys have battle tested these guys, that you've worked out. Quite often, a lot of times y'all will work out pricing models that before y'all had them on your line card, they were out of reach for us and a lot of other MSPs, right? So that's a really cool thing that y'all have been able to do. And I think it's there's a little bit of a snowball effect going on there that you'll have with the community having all these vibes, and I'm sure vendors now probably knocking down y'all's door to get on that line card. I think you'll have some power to you have the power, right? There's the tie back to provide a lot of value to the partners that they can then translate into value to their to their end clients.
I've got the power. What's that, CNC Music Factory?
Yeah, that's what I was trying to think of. Yeah, man.
Kevin, this is for you. What is Acronis doing to help our MSPs and their customer base combat ransomware attacks?
Gotcha. So this is really a layered approach, and you can have the best, security safeguards in place, but if you don't have a decent backup, you could be out of luck. So really just having a strong backup in your email, your files and folders, and really your images is probably number one. Now with Cyber Protect, they have added a bunch of new components to this. So when we look at Active Protect, that is what's monitoring processes to look for anything unusual going on. Now on top of that, what's common in a ransomware attack is, let's say it does get through, typically the first thing it's going to do is try to remove what's called the volume snapshot services on your local computer in case they are able to encrypt some files and folders that would allow you to not be able to go back and sort of reverse it. So they'll protect not only this malware from taking advantage of your backups locally, they'll also keep an eye on everything. That URL filtering piece that I mentioned a moment ago, that will look for the endpoint reaching out to the internet for a command and control server, and perhaps trying to pull down either data or an encryption key or software from there. So really you're looking at, worst case, your backup is in place, and then adding additional layers to even combat it from there.
I know when I am combating ransomware, I usually just call Sergey. I don't know if you've met Sergey yet, but he is an amazing guy, quite the character. He's got a guy for everything, everywhere. When I get ransomware attacks, I call Sergey and he puts an end to it. Don, I'd love your feedback on this one. How does working with Pax8 provide value when you're working with vendors like Acronis?
To Reese's point, when we look for vendor relationships and we evaluate bringing on vendor relationships, and to be honest, I'll be candid, I was a little worried about this when I first started working with Pax8. How would you guys provide value rather than going direct? Because it hasn't been our experience in the past with other distributors that there was any value add, right? So we would call and the distributor support person would scratch their head and try to just send us directly on to the manufacturer. So there was some concern there last year when we started looking at Pax8. But what we've experienced is that the support around the products that you guys have on your line card has been fantastic. And we are able to leverage your team to solve issues without it having to go to the vendor, and or times when you guys are able to solve problems that maybe the vendor would be having a tough time just because you've got some expertise that you've built in-house. So it's been a pleasant surprise compared to previous distributor relationships. You guys are doing a great job at making sure you have the experts around the products that you offer so that we can reach out and get quick support, great support, and it generally doesn't have to end up going to the manufacturer. So it's been good for our team to be able to have those expert resources to be able to leverage.
And one thing that we've leveraged a few times now, and I see more of this in the future, is in working with Pax8, them having the support and the vendor knowledge is the ProServe team there. So that's opened up a lot of opportunities. Maybe some that we could have tackled, but maybe some that we couldn't have prior, right? Like so big mail migrations, things like that. We've used the ProServe team to help execute on the back end as an extension of us, quite frankly, and we've been really happy with that. And so that gives me confidence as we go chase bigger opportunities, that if I hit something with high urgency and my team's got a project calendar that's booked up, we can still figure out a way to make things happen. And the Pax8 team's always been real agile and kind of helping us and helping our clients out. Yeah,
one of the things I'm proud of is that experience that we provide out to our ecosystem, and we are cloud only and MSP hyper focused. And so the last report I saw was 94% of tickets were closed without escalation to the vendor. We understand the challenges that you're working through, and we have oftentimes seen it a dozen or so times and have the answer for you without having to to go through those escalation paths. But when we run into that small percent that we do need to escalate, we escalate with the voice of an ecosystem of 12,000 plus partners.
To that point, that's you guys just being born in the cloud, playing in the cloud, and focusing solely on this. It's just lent itself to y'all's growth and success, and we've seen that over the last 4 years, and seeing where you guys are headed, and being a partner in that Pax8 community, being able to give y'all input. You know, I've had lots of conversations with you, Nick, and your team about, hey, this tool or that tool, or what are you guys looking at here? And that's feels good to be able to contribute, you know, to a community and have your voice heard. And I think your partners have that ability with Pax8.
Kevin, can you tell me what are the benefits of using Acronis for backup and disaster recovery as well as security?
So I'd say this comes down to consolidation, right? As we've talked about, this really is a single agent that needs to be deployed. So again, if you're already using Acronis, it's one less thing you'll need to deploy. Not only are you getting the backup and security, you're also getting visibility into your environment. So one thing that Acronis added with Cyber Protect is what they call a cyber fit score. And you can think of this kind of like Microsoft's security score, but it goes into a little bit more detail on the particular endpoint by looking at things like whether you have anti-malware protection installed, if you have that backup protection installed, what the firewall configuration looks like, if that VPN is enabled, if the disk locally on that hard drive is encrypted in case you lose it. You'll even look at network security components. So with all this, comes really more power and more visibility into your customers' environments.
Last question for the panel in the group today, and you have already brought up so many great examples, and thank you. But what are some of the benefits of working with a modern distributor and a modern ecosystem like Pax8 instead of buying directly from that vendor?
I think one of the things that we always look for is figuring out, quite often when you look at a new product or service area, how are you going to monetize that, right? And so in working with you guys, y'all are thinking about that when you establish your vendor relationships and your ability to support that product and how to convey the value prop, for your partners. And so being able to come to you guys for the ability to market and sell that product, to support it, and to get a premium deal on it, right? And like I said, some of those enterprise level tools or tools that were not geared towards SMB and MSPs traditionally, as those come down into the channel, I know where they're going to be going first, right? They're going to be looking at you guys. And so, it's good to know that as the other parts of the industry become aware of us and want to market towards us, and, particularly Microsoft, it's good to be a part of a group like y'all with Pax8 that has such a forward, cloud-centric and Microsoft-heavy approach. I mean, that's a big deal for us.
Yeah, I would add that there are situations where we still go direct for some services that aren't supplied by Pax8 yet. And when you're dealing direct with those companies, they have a split focus, right? They have an MSP focus potentially, and then they have an enterprise focus. The nice part about if we can procure it through Pax8 is that's your singular focus, and you're always building efficiencies, doing new things that are going to allow us to be more efficient. So if at all possible, we're going to go directly through Pax8 because of that MSP industry focus, and we're not maybe going up against an account manager that doesn't really understand the MSP business, even though their company may sell to MSPs as well. So there's just a natural fit there, that a natural tendency to move in that direction, since you guys focus specifically in that area. And then you're building those things. Like Acronis is a great example. We were actually getting Acronis from a different provider before it was brought on by Pax8. But we couldn't sync those agreements because that provider didn't have that functionality. So just by nature of it coming on the Pax8 line card, we quickly moved over to Pax8, and now we get the chance to sync those agreements easily. So again, don't want to harp on that too much, but it definitely fuels our business and allows us to be more efficient in how we operate.
Well, that concludes our amazing panel and amazing session. Kevin, Reese, Don, thank you very much for your time. It is the goal of PAX 8 to be the IT professional's favorite place to procure cloud services. And as we just discussed, there is opportunity all around us. If you're listening, heed the call. Thank you.
That was a great session, everyone. Thank you so much. Why don't we hop right in and start the Q&A? The first question we have here is, what does the ordering process look like if we want to purchase Cyber Protect Cloud through PAX 8?
I'll take that one. We make it very easy. Most partners that are already on PAX 8 are well familiar with this, but all of our ordering is done through our PAX 8 portal. It's as simple as putting the Acronis subscription into your cart, choosing your subscription level. We have multiple options available there from $250 up through $4,000 for your commitment. And you put that in there, you check out, you enter a couple provisioning details as far as email address, who you want your technical contact to be, and then you check out, and that will get provisioned automatically. One of the great things that we do at PAX 8 is we're all about automation. So that directly hooks into APIs on the Acronis side, and everything is updated automatically and provisioned. Very super easy and seamless. Takes just a matter of minutes.
Sounds like a very easy process. Thanks, Sean.
Sure.
Our second question is, I've heard about PAX 8, but I'm not really that familiar with PAX 8. What do they do differently in comparison to other distributors out there?
Sure. So I already kind of mentioned one of them. We're all about automation. Pretty much all of our vendors have API integration with our portal, and it's a two-way operation. So not only ordering the products, but then on the billing side, we're going to feed all that billing info into our system. We're going to aggregate your invoice across all the different vendors and provide you that with a consolidated invoice, and that in turn integrates with multiple PSA tools as well. So, MSPs know it can be a nightmare to manage multiple vendors, multiple invoices. I see Reese shaking his head. He might be able to chime in a little bit that from the real world. But that's basically where PAX 8's coming from. We want to make your lives easier. We know time is money. If it's going to take you hours and hours to invoice your customers every month, that's money you're leaving on the table that could be going to your bottom line. So that's probably the biggest difference between us and traditional distribution.
Yeah, I can say from an MSP's perspective, it's a night and day difference, guys, working with PAX 8 versus those companies that you used to use to ship a box from A to B, right? These guys were born in the cloud. They know what they're doing, and to Sean's point there, the automation they've set up with billing. When you're prorating, when you're adding and removing licensing, all that kind of stuff. If you're an MSP using a PSA, they've got all of this stuff that's set up to empower your team to free up that time to do other ideally more revenue generating activities, right? So as working with them in the channel and working with them since about 4 or 5 years now and seeing them grow, they are very focused on empowering the MSPs and bringing tools down to us in the channel that were not attainable in the past, right? I mean, that's been a big deal for us, is that there's tools, there's vendors now that are listening to us in the channel, and Acronis has a big play. Acronis and PAX 8, I should say, have a big play on that.
Yep. And then also another big feature we offer on the support side, we handle tier 1 support for almost all of our vendors. There's only maybe 1 or 2 that we don't. But as Nick mentioned in the presentation, we're handling 94% of tech support cases without having to escalate to the vendors. So Obviously, if there's a bug or something like that, we're going to have to escalate over to Acronis, and their dev team might need to get in on it. But for the most part, we're able to knock those support cases out. So once again, time is money. If you're having a lot of techs spending time troubleshooting issues and trying to get a hold of a vendor to get some answers when they could be out maybe doing some professional services or other revenue generating activities, once again, that's money that's not going to your bottom line.
And those professional services, we've engaged with their team to offload some projects, some mail migrations, and some of these Azure rollouts, things that my team may have been backed up with other things. It allows you to scale.
And maybe one last thing, as Reese mentioned, a lot of distributors came up shipping boxes, shipping hardware, and for whatever reason, most of them have not been able to adapt to the cloud world. And Pax8 was born in the cloud. That is all we do. We have one or two vendors that actually ship some hardware, but for the most part, it's cloud licensing, provisioning those licenses, and cloud storage, maybe virtual machines in the cloud hosting. But we've done that from day one, and we've pretty much perfected it. So we didn't have to relearn the distribution. Our founder and CEO, John Street, has founded a few different IT companies through his years, and he kept running into issues where distribution on the cloud side was just broken. So he decided, you know what, I'm going to start this from the ground up, and we're going to do it right. And I think he's done an amazing job, and we continue to improve that on a daily basis. So,
pretty good points, gentlemen. Thanks. Our third question is, how long? We're at the summit here, and people have heard about Cyber Protect Cloud and all these great products from Acronis. How long does it take to get started with Acronis through Pax8?
So once again, the ordering process is super easy. It takes a matter of minutes to get your account provisioned. Once you have that account, you're going to be emailed some login credentials. Generally, we're going to set you up with an onboarding call right away. You're going to go through some technical discussions, I'm sure, when you're deciding to sign up with Acronis through Pax8. But when you've committed to it, you're going to go for it. We're going to set you up with an onboarding call with a PSC, a partner solutions engineer, and you're going to be also attached to what we call a continuity solution consultant, and they're going to be focused on your region. They're going to have just a handful of MSPs, and they're going to be your main contact, but they're going to kind of be your wingman through this whole process and get those onboarding calls set up and make sure you get started on the right foot. Obviously, we've got a great relationship with Acronis, so if we need to go a little deeper, maybe you have a special circumstance that goes a little over our head, we can easily bring in an Acronis SC to help with those sort of activities as well. But it's a very smooth launching process, and we're there to hold your hand and get you up, get you started right, and basically get that wingman experience that you're used to at Pax8.
Great, thanks, Sean. Next question is, people buy from people, so that sounds great getting started, but what after that's happened? Does a service provider get a dedicated rep at Pax8?
Sure, yep. And we have a multi-tiered approach, so every partner is going to have a dedicated CAM, so a channel account manager. That's going to be their main contact, and whatever they need, that CAM is going to be able to help them. Now, obviously, they can't be jacks of all trade. We have four main categories: productivity, infrastructure, continuity, and security. The last two of which Acronis actively participates in, continuity and security. So behind the CAMs, we have dedicated teams of specialists, those solution consultants in each of those. So with Acronis, you'd have a dedicated continuity consultant as well as a security consultant that are more technical. They are still on the sales side, but they are a little more actually much more technical than the front end CAM that's going to be helping you with the day-to-day stuff. And they're going to be there to help guide you through anything you need. So, Acronis has come out with some amazing updates lately, and we're getting a lot of questions. Hey, how does this work? And it could just be a simple pricing issue, or it could be a technical issue. I want to learn more about the Cyber Protect and how I can implement the security. I've been using Acronis for backup for years. Tell me more about that. And we don't have to lean on Acronis and wait a few days for them to come in and help. Our continuity consultants and our security consultants can help right away. And then we also have professional services. So if you have a project that you need to roll out a bunch of machines in a short amount of time, we can help you with that. If you run into a special circumstance, once again, you know, a strange environment that might require a little more technical expertise, we can link you up with one of our partner solutions engineers, product solutions engineers rather, which are going to be Acronis experts. And then if we do go over their heads, we've got another layer we can lean on Acronis. And thanks to the tight relationship we have with them, they're always anxious to jump in and help out wherever needed.
Great, thanks, Sean. Appreciate it. Those are the questions I've gotten so far. I want to encourage you, if you're here, please don't be shy. Feel free to ask these guys any questions that you're looking for. So we'll give it a little bit more time, see if anybody wants to ask any additional questions.
Sounds good.
All right, Sean, either you and Reese have done a great job of answering questions, and now everybody wants to sign up with Pax8, or we have a bunch of shy people. I'm going to go with they love what they heard, and they're ready to sign up with Pax8 today. So I'd love to encourage everyone to make sure they interact with Pax8 while they're here at the summit, and enjoy the rest of the Acronis, the 2020 Acronis Global Cyber Summit. And thank you for attending the session, everyone.
Thanks all.
Cool.
Have a great day, everybody.
See you later. Bye-bye.